Just take the time and think about someone other than yourself. Little Higgins.
Save that little sound bite for just in the middle of a podcast somewhere, right? Oh, we're recording. Oh, well.
It might. It records 10-second pre-roll somehow.
Oh, okay.
So it may have caught it. I guess we'll find out.
It's listening to us while we're there.
Yeah, I guess it is actively. Because you never know, you know? What if that 10 seconds is gold, Higgins, and you want that back? You can do that with this very expensive sound device we use for our personal project.
Kind of like time travel.
A little bit. Kind of like living in low gravity.
Zero gravity.
Zero cares in the world.
Yeah.
But one great podcast.
And a little bit of sugar in our drink.
It's like Mountain Dew. There's a lot of sugar in this.
Yeah. But only half a can. Because I'm not a monster.
That's enough to kill me twice over. So before that happens, let's just suck it up and do this thing. It's not as sudsy as I thought it would be. I thought it'd have more carb in it, more carbonation.
Maybe it's because I stirred it.
Yeah.
The coconut rum's really poking its head through, though.
It is, and more on that later. But for right now, we've taken our seats, we've got our microphones, took a sip of that drink we'll mention later. Let's welcome everyone to the Comixology Club. It's a podcast where I, Snoop Lynch, and you, Higgins Stern.
Hey, that's me.
That's you right there. Glad you remembered that. Two of us together. We're going to read a book. We did that. Now we're going to talk about a book.
We're doing that right now.
Oh, lovely. Good. That's what we're here for. And,
or if you're the listener, we're doing that before the episode comes out at an undetermined time.
Just whenever I can get it out.
Somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Before Christmas. I got to get it out at the end of the month.
Well, yeah, but it's still somewhere between those two.
I mean, when you're right, Higgins, aren't you? Yeah, good call. But this will be out sometime in November when we get to that. But for right now, let's just talk about those things that I was mentioning.
You picked this book.
Oh, sorry, and we're friends. That's important.
Oh, yeah, we're friends that also we read the book.
Yeah, you did the intro last month, so I guess it's really kind of throwing me off my groove. Yeah, so I guess I'm going to keep doing it from now on, so this doesn't happen anymore. But yes, welcome back everyone who listens. Welcome to anyone new who's given this a shot and probably already turned it off because of the weird rambling we've just done. If you're still here, though, we're going to talk about a book I picked called Skyward.
Yeah, it's called Skyward, and it's by Joe Henderson.
Yes, written by Joe Henderson, created by Joe Henderson. This first volume we're going over covers the first 5 issues. It ran from April of 2018 to August of 2018. It's called My Low-G Life. Really just playing off that idea. A really good idea, I think. Maybe not brought to its complete potential, but, I'll get into that. But art's also in there. It's important, isn't it, Higgins? Who does that?
Lee Garbett.
Yes.
Not going to trick me. I almost said Garrett, but I didn't.
I listened to an interview and he's like, you said my name wrong, because I think someone said like Garbet is what they said.
Yeah, there's 2 T's at the end.
Yeah.
That's a bet.
They brought up the 2 T's at the end, actually. Yeah, but he had a little bit of fun. He said, actually, it's Jarbet.
Jarbet.
And then they had a bit of a laugh. But yes, it is Lee Garbett, actually. So he's a liar. They're all lying. It's Lee Garbett. He did art, and he had some help on colors by Antonio Fabela.
And then a couple other people.
Yeah, Image did this one. Good idea, I think, for Joe Henderson in particular. We talk about Image all the time. We love Image, cover a lot of books. The biggest appeal of Image to a creator is they get those rights, and Joe Henderson has a really good idea here. I listened to a couple of interviews on the way to your house about kind of how this came to be. But yeah, he's taking it places. Sony is currently picking it up and going to make a movie out of it, Higgins.
That'll probably be pretty average, right?
Well, Higgins, if you're worried about that, don't worry. But also maybe worry a little bit, because right now it's being made by Sony, who, they're knocking it out of the park every year. I mean, alone next year we have things like Venom 3 and that Madam Web movie.
Did they have their hands on the zombie show?
Which
The Last of Us?
Okay.
I couldn't remember the name of it.
No, that's Warner Brothers Discovery Max or whatever the hell it is.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was on HBO Max/Max. Good show. Good adaptation. No, they did the video game though. The Last of Us. So yeah, I don't know how that works, but they're doing this, and they've picked just a great guy by the name of Brad Payton, who has done movies like Rampage and San Andreas. So just get ready in 2025 or whenever this comes out to see The Rock in a big flowing wig.
Yeah, The Rock.
Yeah,
right?
He'll probably be the dad or something, and that's in this.
I don't know. That. And then that one girl that was in the movie where he was a tooth fairy, or a football player that had to teach ballerina stuff to her.
Yeah, and now that one girl's on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
but I guess we can't talk about that. Might demonetize Michael's show. This is Michael's show, technically, Higgins. By the way.
Yeah, he's our sponsor.
He is our
He's
sponsor.
not our sponsor. His company's our sponsor.
Yes, which he's the face
He's
of
our
that
boss.
company. He's our boss. He's,
But more importantly, he's our friend.
I don't know. He's very boss-like now. He texted me. He's like, "You recording yet?" I'm like, "I'm doing it tonight. I promise." Nah, he's a good guy. He has his own business that he does. It's called 008 Studios. If you're a longtime listener to the show, we've been sponsored by him for a while now. Higgins, what do they do over there
They do all the multimedia needs that you could probably want.
that you would need?
He likes to help people make books. He
Yes.
likes to write books himself. He likes to make things other than books. He has clothes and pins and stuff that you can buy.
He's got sweet merch.
He's got art from people that have made art.
Yeah, I need to check in and make sure that sweet merch got sent to Ethan. I'll look into that, Ethan, if you're listening.
Oh, yeah.
If you
I
haven't
haven't heard
gotten it already.
anything yet.
Yeah, I'll check into it. But yes, Michael helps with all that. He's basically the guy you go to if you got an idea and you're like, I want to write this book. I really like writing book, but I don't know how to do all the other stuff that goes with writing.
How do I find an editor?
Yeah, he can help you do that.
How do I talk to the people at Penguin and their random house? Michael might know how to do that.
He might, and if he doesn't, he'll find a way to help
I'm just
you.
trying to say something that might be wrong in Michael's ad at least once in every episode, and then he'll be able to tell us, and then we'll be able to tell you guys.
Yeah, I mean, he does tell us, and then we forget to tell the right thing because we have too much fun doing whatever it is
Yeah.
we're doing now. But yes, he does do all that. He's written his own books. We did an episode on his first book. He's got the second book. I think it's still supposed to come out.
In about 52 days, 16 minutes, 7 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds.
I don't have the timer up, so I can't help you
okay.
with this joke. Good joke last time, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. We had fun. But yeah, so if you have an idea, like you want to, it kind of can be anything. Like Michael, just he's loving the creative process, and he loves anyone who wants to get in on that. So he's helping a friend of your girlfriend's maybe make a book and you know, get it published. He's the guy that you're gonna go to and be like, Michael, I want this thing done, and he'll help you find a way, or he might not, but he'll definitely try.
He forces us to make this thing. He hasn't helped us once, other than giving us a measly amount of dollars and friendship.
I mean, if anything, we just need those dollars, though.
I'm just kidding.
That sweet cash we
There's
need.
so many dollars.
Yeah. So
I have a bathtub. I just roll around in them.
and that sweet
After
cash.
after we record our podcast,
Wow.
I just roll around in all the sweet dollars we get
How big is
until the
that?
next episode.
How big is that tub?
It's enough for me, so like you could sit in it, but you couldn't lay in it.
Could I get in after when the cash is
When the cash,
lukewarm?
yeah,
It's got some of your filth in there.
yeah.
Good. That's all I want. Thank you. We'll do that after this episode. Just don't spill any Mountain Dew in there, all right?
I'll try not to.
If it's going to be sticky, I want it to be sticky for other reasons. So yes, if you're interested in doing, if the ad that we just did makes any kind of sense to you and you're like, I would like to go down this route of getting a thing that I've always wanted to make made, Michael can help you do that. I'm going to leave a link in this podcast description note thing that'll take you to his site. You can reach out to him for a consultation and yeah, just get the ball rolling, as it were, Higgins.
If your clicking fingers work less than your like listening than your typing fingers, then you can just type in 0-0-8studios.com. And there's probably a button in there in that place where he can get an email from you.
Almost certainly. Of course. Yeah.
A contact us section or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you could contact us.
Yeah.
We have an email.
We have an email too.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later though.
Mention it now while we're both sober and we remember it perfectly.
All right, the Comixology Club at 0-0-8studios.com.
Nailed it in one.
Yeah.
That explains why you never done it before.
I typed it in earlier tonight, so I have it fresh on the brain.
That's great. I love you getting your practice in. Shows your commitment to this dumb thing that we do.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yes, check out his business. Reach out to him if you want, or just buy some of his stuff. Like I said, he's got a book of his own. He's got other things on the way. I'm excited for his sci-fi book that's coming out. So
yeah.
We'll get into that when that happens, of course. For now, though, let's get back to this book, again, Skyward, Volume 1. Higgins, you know what this book is about.
I do know what
assume.
this is about.
But other people might not. So I'm just going to give a little rundown, as it were.
A little synopses.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, looks like you might be able to do it if you want.
I got it right back here on the back of this book that I bought.
Oh, okay, good. Do that.
Do you want me to read the whole thing? It's not that long. I'll play it by ear.
Okay, go for it.
So one day the gravity on Earth suddenly became a fraction of what it is now. So people are just flying off the Earth
Okay.
unless they're attached somehow.
They got like a belt they can hold on to in the
20
closet.
years, yeah.
Yeah.
20 years later, there's a girl. They've adapted. The main character, she's adapted. Willa Fowler, and she was born right before the gravity change, so it's pretty much the only life she's ever known. It's just not the same. Her dad doesn't like it, and some dangers lurk closer than she knows.
That's good. That's good reading from the back of that book.
Yeah.
I've got it up here too, and I can tell that you paraphrased, which I
paraphrased,
enjoy.
yeah. There was a lot of stuff that were like little quippy stuff where it sounded like they try to make it like the character in the book was telling us about the thing, and I wanted to be the one to tell you about the thing.
You wanted to go even more meta.
Not the character. Yeah.
You wanted to go more meta with your meta commentary. I get that, and I like that. I like all of that. I like most of this. I think
it's a great premise.
It's a fantastic idea, and it's about, I would say, 80% realized.
The first volume that we read, honestly, just felt like rushed.
Yes.
They were like, let's just get into it. And then after this one, I feel like they'll probably actually like start doing stuff, which is still ongoing, I think.
It just ended.
It just ended?
Yeah, I think they ended up clocking out at 15 issues.
Okay, well, hopefully they figured it out.
Hopefully so. I want to give this at least one more issue later down the road. Joe Henderson is the one who came up with this idea. I really like that he's clearly taken the time to flesh this out in his head. I think getting on the page, he stumbles a bit in certain areas that I'll get into. But basically, this whole idea stems from his childhood. I listened to a couple interviews with him talking about that first volume when it came out. Basically, one thing he's always kind of racked his brain around when he was a child was I'd lay out in the backyard just looking up at the stars, and I was kind of nervous because it's like gravity's the only thing keeping me down here. The way he put it is like I was 8 and I knew the sky had no ceiling, and so what's to keep us from just floating away,
floating up and becoming a disgusting like Saturn's rings around the planet.
Yeah, and the fact that he had that idea since he was a kid, and he has worked in writing before. This is his first comic, I'm pretty sure.
I've heard of his name before.
Well, so you have, because he is one of the showrunners on Lucifer, Sexy Devil Man.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think when I heard that, it made a lot of sense, because this isn't a man who is in this world. He's written before, but he's written for TV. And that's something that you and I don't really talk about a lot, but there's a whole different world when it comes to writing comics, I think. And the biggest issue, and you've already brought it up, is pacing. I think that every issue I have with the writing in this, most of it stems from the pacing. And I think that he's still writing from a television kind of format of there's so many things that happen in basically the first issue of this. If you took them page at a time, it would almost work better as an episode of a show, because you would have the time to flesh out this particular character, this group of characters we're being introduced to, who are all really interesting and really great characters, like at their core, but their interactions aren't really impactful in any way, because you blink and then it's just on to the next thing.
Yeah, and it's like just one specific character that like feels like a whirlwind. You meet her friend who's like a postal delivery guy. Doesn't have any legs, so he's loving low gravity life.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, he's just one of her buddies. He works at the thing. And then you're like, wait, he's got these really expensive gravity boots. What's up with that? Oh, man, it's family who's super rich, and they made him be in a wheelchair even after gravity stopped working. And then you're like, oh, now he's kidnapped by the people that were supposedly his family because he gave her the boots. And that happened in 5 issues.
Yeah.
It happened in like 4 issues probably, because we didn't even meet him in the first one, I don't think.
You do.
You barely do.
Well, you do, and that's the thing is it's...
Oh, and he might be a love interest too.
That's the thing is, like, I think that there's already so much to do with just the idea of this is a guy who normally couldn't do a lot, but because of the universe that he now finds himself in, he doesn't need legs because he gets around just as well, if not better, than other people who have them. And I think that idea, like, that's the thing. This idea, it's clearly been thought out in a lot of ways on a grander scale. This world, what I like about it is it's got mix of the old and the new. So you have characters like, this story starts with the event that happens that basically gravity just shuts off. They call it G-Day. And you meet the main character's father. He, because of destiny, it turns out he's one of the lead scientists who was researching, well, what do we not know about gravity? And also, is it finite?
I think he even like you even find out that he's like, yeah, we knew this was gonna happen. We didn't know when it was gonna happen, but we were working on a way to stop it from happening.
Yes, and then it does, and then there's this thing where, and it's telegraphed pretty well, where you're like, oh, I know this is coming. He is just living his day to day. They just had Willa, his wife's like, I'm going for a run. The first instance you see of gravity shutting off is he spills his coffee, and he's like, damn it, my favorite mug. But then the mug's floating, and the coffee's in the air, and that's when he's like, oh, I knew this would happen. And then he has this realization like, oh, my wife just left.
Yeah,
and
my wife's gone.
she's floating away. It's a moment of like, I maybe have a chance to save her, but then he turns back because he hears Willa crying, and by the time, he checks on her, wife's gotten, I think she gets hit in the head with a car and then floats away unconscious.
She was like hanging on to like a light post for a little bit or something like that.
And then we cut, and I think that setup, yes, keep that. We just need that brief glimpse of, okay, there was a world that was just like ours, and now we're cutting to 2 decades later where there's been time to adapt to it, like you said. And for some people, they're stuck in the past.
Yeah, they lived in a world with gravity, and gravity's pretty cool for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot more helpful than you probably would think too, because there's characters, again, from both sides of, ones that were just basically born during that event, so this is all they know, and they love it because it's their normal and they know how to use it. And I love that that hope that is thrown in with this, where for people like us who it's like, yeah, this is mostly what we know, and what would happen if we lost that, and what do we lose because of that? It would be in your head, and a lot of people would be like her dad is in the future, where he's like, I don't want to go outside because
like, yeah, he got full on agoraphobic.
Yeah. But then you also have the other side of it where it's like, no, like this is just what people know. And it's also kind of freed them in a lot of ways. There's that contrast between her dad, who is just terrified of everything and will not go outside, and all she wants to do is leave and see the world, and she has no fear because why would she?
She's flying around all over the place. Mm-hmm. She carries a gun.
Yeah, she carries a gun, but not for the reasons you think. Yeah.
She just shoots at the sky just in case she flies up too high.
And I love that too. And that's the thing, is like Joe Henderson as a writer has thought, how would this work? And he's done a really good job of, you get those questions in your head where she pulls out the gun and it's like, hey, you can't use guns, or we don't use guns anymore because you'll just go flying off. And she's like, that's the idea. And she uses that to basically propel herself out of danger.
Then she got too far, and then she had to shoot herself back to the ground.
Yeah. And I love that as a reason why guns aren't used anymore, because there are a lot of situations that happen in the story where it's like, why don't they just shoot her? Oh, because then they'll fly off.
They'll fly off, yeah.
So he's thought of that kind of stuff, and it makes this idea really, really great. But I think when you get to those more intimate moments that just rely on characters talking to each other, no one feels like they exist out of the scene that they're in.
Until maybe like the 4th or 5th issue, where like she kind of starts doing a few more things with her dad. They like kind of, it's like a little bit too late almost, but they kind of get the relationship with them to work a little bit.
But even then, I don't think that it works as well as they want it to, because it happens all so fast. I didn't
feel things.
You don't, like when you told me about this, because you read it first, you're like, yeah, I read it in like 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay, I picked a quick one. I think normally if they had spent more time on dialogue and like just interacting and what leads to what event, it wouldn't have been as quick of a read. And also I think that there's probably 2 volumes worth of stuff in this that they just kind of cram and shove down your throat.
Oh yeah.
And it's a shame because everything else is really well realized in this. I mean, again, like the gun, there are people who, because this is set in the city of Chicago, which is where Joe Henderson's from. So just having the new layout of Chicago and like, how does that function? How do you get from point A to point B where there is no gravity? You're not using cars. They thought of that really and do it in
like
a really interesting way.
Buildings and stuff like that.
Yes, because it seems they don't explain this 100%, but the way I kind of perceive it is gravity it's off, but
not all the way off.
In a way where if you are like, depending on how much you weigh, that's how much you kind of float. And you can, if you kick off a building, you will keep going unless you grab onto something until eventually you hit the tops of the buildings where there's nothing to grab onto, and then you float away and die. But there's a line with one of the people. She does like a postal service where she delivers packages for people. And one of her coworkers is talking to her because all Willow wants to do is go out of the city and see the world, but her dad won't let her. And the woman she works with is like, well, you actually, like, your dad knows more than he's crazy, but he also knows what it's like because he was there just like I did. She said that when the gravity event, when G-Day happened, she was like in the middle of nowhere and she had to figure out how to get to the city.
Yeah.
You don't want to be outside the city because there's nothing to keep you down if you, like, say, get knocked away. Like, it's just flat plains and roads. So yeah, you're more likely to float. I think she mentions she lost a lot of people on the way to the city.
Yeah.
So again, like with all that stuff, those lines of just like, oh, they've really thought about this. It's a shame that all these events that kind of propel the main story forward either don't really seem to matter or I just don't care because the writing is not.
It's just too quick. Is what it comes down to, because like the big bad dude,
the evil businessman,
you meet him in one issue, and then at the very end of that issue, like 5 pages later, they put a shadow over his face, and he says, "Let me tell the audience about my big sneaky plan."
It's very much like I'm evil. It's like, yeah, we know. Like your face is completely covered in shadow.
And then like normally in like even in like a CW, you're like, this person's probably evil, but like they drag it out for a couple episodes before they do the big evil thing.
Yeah.
We didn't get those couple of episodes where like he didn't even like try to befriend her before he basically beat her up and kidnap her.
And that kind of worries me because I just think that it's going to continue that breakneck speed. Whereas
maybe they did finish the story in 15 issues.
But I think it's going to be an issue of like, oh, this could have easily have been like 30 to 45. And maybe they did it because they thought like, oh, we won't get more. So we'll just like shove everything in. But people like this. And again, I give them credit. This idea I think what I like about it is the concept of it is so simple. What if gravity's gone? But because it's such a simple idea, he's able to add so much into it as far as like, how does this world function? What do people do? Like even just like a from a economical standpoint, it's like, how do you make money? Because there's already going to be so many jobs that are gone because gravity. And they go into that even like the reason that this evil businessman is after her is because he was the other scientist who was studying gravity with her dad. And he wants to find her dad because he's the one person that can cure this. Why does he want it to be the same? Because he made a shit ton of money off of learning how to change the world where it can deal with it
and stuff like that.
Yeah, he created gravity boots. He figured out how to kind of change agriculture because when G-Day happened, a lot of cows and livestock floated away. So it's like, what do we do? He figured out all that. And
the rain doesn't hit the ground anymore.
I want to talk about the rain thing. Yeah, I really like that.
So it won't water your plants.
Yeah, if all that goes away because this one guy can fix it, but there's no lead up to that. It's just he's a normal man, a normal successful man, and then he sees that girl, and it's like something in his brain just snaps, and he's like, I'm just gonna go full villain, and everything will be fine. Like,
yeah, it's wild that he just assumed that guy was dead. Didn't even like try to find him.
Which he probably could have easily done because he was just in the same house that he was already living in before all this. It's like, you didn't go and check to see if that guy still lived there? Surely you knew he lived there. You worked together for years. He was like your best friend. It's that stuff that makes this kind of fall down for me. And again, the dialogue I think is the big issue with that because none of these people talk like a real person. And I can kind of look past some of it because it's a changed world. A lot of these people that we see are younger. This is all they know, so they probably would communicate differently or even feel differently. I like that element at least where Willa is a free spirit because she lives in a world where she can fly.
Yeah, they haven't said like one skibbity or a gayat or a
no like made up slang or anything like that. And it makes sense that it wouldn't because
it's past those years. Yeah. We're 20 years in the future. Yeah. They're back to sounding normal again.
They've come right back around, right? Yeah.
I don't know what a phantom tax is, but someone might email us and tell us what it is. I think it's a Fortnite thing.
Like a dance?
Like I don't
like you put a sheet on and you do a little dance?
I don't know. I see stuff on TikTok and people say a bunch of words that I don't understand.
But someone does, Higgins.
Someone does. And they talk like it and it's probably terrible.
Higgins, that's just your old kicking in, all right?
I guess so.
Look, there's a time and a place for everyone, and that's not a time nor place for us, unfortunately. But yeah, like the dialogue in this is just it's kind of tough at points. Like, and I think that's just because they want to do these big moments that should mean a lot, and everything is basically there to get to that. But I feel nothing because even with the love interest thing, I don't care any. The only thing I find interesting about that guy is the fact that he has no legs and he's in a world that it doesn't.
He doesn't need legs.
Yeah,
And I just want to see him fly around, and they don't even let us see him fly around all that much. Half the time he's sitting in a chair.
And I feel like there's more to be done with his character, and I think we're gonna get more in following issues.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna go on the little adventure with her.
Yeah, post volume adventure they set up at the end. But honestly, I don't even really care because all it's gonna turn into is what we mostly got out of the two of them talking, which is like, you're cute. It's okay that you don't have like it's just it's not good.
Oh yeah, it's like you guys have been essentially working together for probably a good amount of time, at least a couple years. She's 20-ish, so it's like he hasn't had legs the whole time, gal.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like the first interaction they have is like, oh, I didn't know you didn't have legs, and it's like you didn't know this guy that you've been working with for probably, like you said, years or months at least, didn't have legs. And also, why do you keep bringing it up? And I know the idea is that like she has a crush on him and she's awkward as a person. She doesn't really know how to talk to people. But like I said, it's like they didn't even exist until we needed to see them interact.
Yeah.
And I think that's where not having a comic background kind of fell down for Joe Henderson. This is his first comic, so of course it's going to be clunky. And he has written before. That's why he's doing 5 seasons of Lucifer or whatever. So I don't even think he's like a terrible writer.
It kind of feels like a Lucifer type show.
It's
or like a
and,
CW. It feels like a Flash on the CW.
Yeah, it's loose, sexy, and fun or whatever. Yeah. I don't know if it would work any better in a show. I don't know if it'll work better in a movie with The Rock. But I would like to see someone else at least kind of help write. Because also it's Joe Henderson. I don't know how old this guy is. Just looking at him, like he probably looks like he's in his 30s or 40s or whatever.
He's got like red hair.
No, he's bald.
No.
Yeah. But
and a beard.
It's not even an issue that I thought it would be where it's like, oh, this man is writing a female character. Like I didn't really get anything too egregious as far as that stuff goes. But writing kind of younger people is just, it's I don't know, something's missing here. And I think that having a co-writer to kind of help with those dialogue scenes would go a long way. That way, when stuff happens, I would feel something. Because the big climactic moment of this is she finally gets her dad to go outside to try and like help save the world after she hits him in the head. And he's kind of forced to, but he ends up sacrificing himself so that she can live and take on his crusade of like, I've got to take this journal across the world to get someone to make a cure for the gravity. But when he dies, I just cannot care.
Her dad?
Yeah, I just don't care. Because he's a guy who, he had an idea that this was going to happen. It's not his fault that it happened, but he does blame himself for the death of his wife. That's pretty apparent early on. You cut back to him in the future and he's like, I'm never going outside him. I've got all these resistant bands and weights to put me down on the floor and doing push-ups or whatever. So we knew that. What I didn't know and what I didn't expect is the reason he kind of hates himself as much as he does is because basically gave himself an excuse not to go outside the first time.
Yeah.
He mentions to his daughter, like, look, I hate myself. And she's like, yeah, like, because you couldn't save mom, but it's not your fault. And he's like, no, it is my fault because
you would have been fine.
You were in the house. You would have been fine. You were a baby. Like, you weren't going anywhere. She was the one outside, but I was too scared to try. And I think that moment's a really like kind of like it says a lot about him and where he's at, and also why he did shut himself in and why he refuses to kind of get past that, because he is a coward. And I thought that it was going to lead to something where maybe Will is in danger and he finds out about it. So he's like, I've got to do it. But instead what happens is she's like, it's okay, Dad, we'll figure this out. And then she just hits him in the back of the head when he's not looking and then forces him to come out. And that's not a good character moment for him because he didn't choose to leave that house. He was forced to leave that house.
Once he left, though, he chose to leave the other building.
Yeah.
And then got caught in the big rainstorm and almost died before he died.
Yeah, before he does die. And that's the thing, though, is like, do you really need both those things? Because really all you were trying to do was get to the moment where he decides, like, I've got to go out there. But it takes away a lot when you knock him out and force him to come out the first time. Because then he's not in his, like, safe space. Because if it were me and I was that guy and I've been knocked out, the second I woke up, even though I don't want to go outside, I'm like, well, I don't need to be here. So it takes away from his personal character growth because he doesn't get to make that first choice. And it doesn't really matter that he was knocked out and brought to that place, because he ended up just doing the same thing anyway, which is going outside. So it doesn't add anything to his character, and it kind of takes away from it in a lot of ways. So I just don't understand what the reasoning behind it is. And that might also have to do with the fact that all of that seems to happen in about 2 pages.
Yeah.
So it's weird how fast this book goes. I literally thought I was missing pages at points, because like at one point she's at the job, and then on the next page she's back at the house, and then on the page after that she's in the street dealing with some weird like Blade Runner greasers for no reason.
Oh yeah, with when she shot the gun.
Yeah, that was the point where I'm like, oh, they're gonna throw in their own language or slang in here, aren't they? Because like they just look like freaks. But
yeah,
listening to an interview, the original idea was they were going to go on this cross-country road trip together, but he decided to not do that because, you know, she wants to go see the world, do her own thing. Well, a big part of that is you leave your family, you leave your comfort zone. And I do understand what he's saying. I think he should have kept it, though, and that's only because there's not enough time spent with either of these characters interacting to really care when he dies. But I feel like if you had spent that time where they go on the journey, they both grow, because his whole thing is he doesn't want to leave.
Maybe he dies in issue 10 after they've already been on the the little journey for a little bit.
And that's the thing, is I think you need it, because everything that we saw before that moment isn't enough to make me go, oh, it's real sad that he's gone. Like, it just seems like a thing that happened, and okay, it's time to move on again. And maybe she'll go on with the hunk with no legs. One can only hope. But also, I don't really want to see them interacting awkwardly. Like, I don't know, something's wrong with both their brains. This girl's unhinged. But yeah, it's an odd book. It's so odd because, like I said, it's mostly there, and we haven't talked about it. But like, this is a beautiful book.
Oh yeah, it looks good. It's comic. It's for sure a comic book.
Yeah,
it looks like a lot of other Image stuff where it's like pretty colorful. The main character's drawn pretty well. The blacks are real black.
The whites are real white.
The faces don't look ridiculous. They kind of look like every DC or Marvel superhero face.
It definitely has, like, Image has a certain kind of standard of their own, and I think this definitely fits into that. It's very just, there's a lot of detail, but it's all very clean and clear as far as what you're looking at. The colors are a big thing, I know, for this book. Obviously, Lee Garbett just is doing a lot of heavy lifting on the art side, but Joe Henderson's main idea was, again, this is set 20 years in the future after the event happened, but he didn't want it to be a dystopia. You know, he didn't want it to be all doom and gloom. He kind of wanted it to be like, no, this is just the new normal, and it's hopeful, it's happy. And I think the art paired with these colors really hits that idea. Like, I wouldn't look at this and be like, oh, I wouldn't want to live in this world. Like, I wouldn't want to live in Sweet Tooth, but I'd be okay if I lived in this.
Yeah, it felt a little bit like that, Alita Battle Angel, but if they were in the air, that kind of world.
And I just like that it's changed, like, the whole, like, kind of class system. They don't bring attention to it past a line or two, but it's more expensive to live lower to the ground in the city.
Which is, it's like flipped. Like, normally you'd want to be up in the air when the gravity was working, but now that it's...
Yeah, you want to look down on all those peasants. Yeah.
Yeah. Now they just look up and forget they exist.
Yeah, and I like the idea that there's a whole society of people who are in denial and have been for 20 years because they live on the lower levels. They're the rich people, they're the snobs, and they have their grav boots on all the time. There's a really good line of, she gets into a fight with some bouncers at an event because she's trying to go meet the evil businessman, and
you talking about when he says, there's nothing wrong with me sleeping in my grab boots, is there?
Yeah, she makes a line about, like, I bet you sleep in those things, don't you? And she ends up shorting him out, and he starts to float away, and they all freak out. And then she goes later to the party and says that, or sees him crying to his friends because he's just like, there's nothing wrong with it. You all do it too, right? Like, I think that's a fun little kind of way to build on this world that, you know, it does the same thing as his writing in the foreground, but it does it way better as far as, like, I'm learning so much about how this works really quickly, but it's through little vignettes of people who live in this. That's the parts that feel like a fully realized world, because it's just like, oh, I'm just peeking in on these guys' lives. They have been doing this. They have existed. I'm just getting a little, like, glimpse of what they're doing and what they do every day. Whereas in the foreground stuff, like with Willa and the main plot, that's just like, oh, like this just started when I turned the page.
He kind of just had an idea and how to make that idea turn into a world.
Yeah.
But then he's like, I can't make a story off of just saying there's no gravity and people are living there. I got to put a story in this, otherwise it won't sell any copies.
And I think it mostly just comes down to he did have the idea, the concept in his head, and had been, I think he said it took him 6 years to get this made, because he had been working in TV, and he, I think, was trying to get that, go down that route, because that's what he knew. But he also really loves comics. How he teamed up with Lee Garbett is an artist. He's worked on things like, I think most recently there was Loki, something of Asgard, God of Asgard. He did the art for that. And Joe Henderson read that book and really liked it. So he just messaged him on Twitter and he's like, hey, do you want to do this with me? And it was oddly enough that another book that Lee Garbett was working on was the Lucifer comic. So I think that was just the connection, like the loose connection they had, because they had kind of gone in on that together here and there. And Lee Garbett just really liked the idea, and it's a great idea. And I think having that seasoned veteran in the comic industry team up with you for your first book, this is not a great first volume, but it's a really good first volume because of that art and because of those colors, because you really do get a good feel of what this can be.
Yeah. And then they the last cool thing they did was the water storms. All the rain just goes into a big ball because gravity doesn't, or it just stays in the air.
Yeah, it's almost like a vacuum that it kind of gets sucked into, and
instead of falling down, it just stays in the sky until it gets evaporated, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
They didn't really explain how it works. You basically just find out that, like, I guess without gravity, it becomes a big ball, and her dad comes outside and he's like, that's what I thought would happen, but now I get to see it.
They mentioned like, oh, Dad went out in a rainstorm. It's like, he's never seen a rainstorm. And I like that idea of like the most dangerous thing now, like natural disaster, is just rain. And then when you see it, it pays off in a big way, because you're like, yeah, that would suck. Because also, I mean, you think about little stuff too, and they kind of show it where, well, normally everyone's fine if you're outside and you kind of start to blow away because you can grab onto something. Well, if it's raining, the buildings are wet,
it's
so
more slippery.
It's harder to grab onto. All that stuff is really well done. And what I also like is it's still a beautiful image when you do see it. It's dangerous because you either get taken by it and you float away forever, or worse, which is almost what happens, you get caught in the big rainball and you just drown in zero gravity.
You can't move through it.
Yeah. And I like how they're able to kind of work around that. That does happen to her dad, and she gets in there and she mentions earlier, like, I need the equipment. And they're like, you've never used the equipment. It's scuba diving equipment.
Yeah.
And not only is she able to use that to get to him, but there's only one of them. So it's like, oh, what do? She uses the oxygen and blows an air pocket into it.
That was pretty tight.
Yeah. Like all that stuff is, again,
He's got great ideas.
He's got a really good idea on his hands. And paired with that beautiful imagery, I still, even after seeing that, I'm like, I would live in this world. And I know that's what he wanted to do. And I know that that's his vision. And he totally deserves credit for all this great stuff we're mentioning. It does come from his idea. And I don't want to take that away from him. I just think that, and maybe he does get better in this. And I think there's another comic he's either started working on or is about to work on called Shadecraft.
There looks like there's already a bunch out.
Okay.
It looked like it started coming out in like 2021.
Okay, good. And like I said, I think that this is his first comic. It's clunky, but I think that these are things that could easily be worked on, because a lot of times I feel like it's that execution he needs a bit more kind of practice with. I'm saying that I could never even write this. Like, if I tried to write this exact same thing, it would be way worse, because I don't do that. But I do think it could have used either like a co-writer or just maybe some editing, just anything to fix that dialogue and fix that pacing. I think that this could easily have gone on for 30 issues and still either hit just as well or hit better, because that's the only problem I had after I read it, was just like, this is too much too quickly, and I don't care about anything I'm supposed to care about, but I really like how pretty it looks.
There's some review blurbs on the back, and Jonathan Hickman was like, it reminds him a lot of Why the Last Man, as a really good and simple and elegant premise, that it's enough to hook the average reader and then like just infuriate like other storytellers, because it's like, dang it, why didn't I think of why didn't I make no gravity?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing is like when I read it, I was like,
It's like now I can't do no gravity because he did no gravity already.
yeah, I mean, I might be able to do it slightly better, but also they'll just say that I copied him.
Yeah.
So, you got to deal with that every day. Poor Jonathan Hickman.
I know.
Yeah.
He's doing other stuff.
He's doing good stuff. We've never actually read any of his books. We should one day. But also, maybe we don't. Maybe we just don't. I don't know. A lot of writers out there, Higgins, and we've got so much to cover. But
We have one more thing to cover.
That's right.
We've been drinking on it this whole time. It's called Zero Gravity.
yeah, why is it called that, Higgins?
It was supposed to have Vault Zero in it, which doesn't exist anymore. It's a light drink, so that's kind of good. New cat's
scratching at the door, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He figured out we were podcasting, and he loves podcasting, Higgins.
He's all the way up at the window.
He's literally at the window. Can you take a picture of that? Take a
try.
picture of that. Maybe you can work it into your promo for the episode.
Oh, he's down. That was too quick.
Oh, damn, we'll get it later.
Yeah.
We'll get it later. Unless he keeps doing that, then we'll have to let him in.
I think for now we're good.
I think he stopped. Yeah, he tired himself out.
Yeah, it's a light drink. It wasn't my best work at finding something. There wasn't a lot that I could find that had like upside down or low gravity on the Google. There was like a pineapple upside down thing, but that felt like it didn't really fit like 0G.
Yeah.
So I went with this one, and it's fine.
What are you throwing in that to make
You
this happen?
You got some triple sec, couple ounces of Malibu rum, and splash of lime juice, and then half a can of Mountain Dew. And you can adjust that to your taste because it told me to put a whole can in there.
How much you end up putting in there?
I put half in each.
Okay, that's better. All right.
Yeah.
I'm liking that. Yeah. And you did regular Dew, but
I did regular Dew because I don't really get down on zero
anything.
sugar drinks. They taste worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a perfect body, but I also don't think I need to start drinking diet sodas anytime soon if I'm only doing it a little bit.
No, I mean, plus you do the 10 crunches a day. So, I mean, that's
I've been working out a little bit.
it factors in, obviously. Yeah.
I did 10 dips the other day.
10 whole dips.
10 whole dips, unassisted.
What are you thinking, like an onion dip?
No, like
Maybe a chorizo dip? That's good.
I lifted it with my hands into the air.
Well, I think you
more
just
muscles.
I think you just leave the dip on the table and use the chip and lift that with your
Well,
hands.
if I raise it above my head and dip the chip, then I'm working out while I'm snacking.
Oh, okay. I got it. You got a door, you got a gym. That kind of mentality. I like that. Yeah. This is pretty decent. I probably wouldn't have liked the taste with the zero Dew either. I would have liked the less calories though.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it asked for Vault Zero. I mean, I would have drank Vault if it existed still.
So that's not your fault. They took that from you. That's not on you, Higgins.
I've had it a few times in the past. I probably would have used it for this.
It just mostly tastes like flat soda with a hint of coconut at the end. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's given me just miserable indigestion throughout this entire podcast. So much citrus.
Yeah, I don't know where your Tums are either. So
I have Tums in my room, so we'll be fine. We just have to make it through 10 to 20 more minutes of podcast.
We've got 20 more minutes of podcast, and that's about 20 steps away from your room. I don't know if that's enough time, but we'll see. If something bad happens, I'll make sure to turn the recorder back on so I can get all of that. Yeah, it's good. I'm going to leave a recipe link for that in case anyone wants to give it a go. Maybe you try it with maybe you're the one person that bought that 6-pack of Vault Zero, so you can finally put it to good use. If that's you, let us know, please.
Yeah, send us an email if you have Vault Zero.
We'd love that. Send us some Vault Zero.
Yeah, send us some Vault Zero.
Yeah, we'll give you Michael's address, and then you can send him some Vault Zero.
We can even probably spring the cash for the shipping if you really don't want to do that.
I will not do that.
Michael can do that.
Michael can do that. He sponsors the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves Vault Zero.
He loves us, and he loves that we love Vault Zero. That's right. I bet it would taste different. What does Vault Zero taste like?
I can't remember what that stuff tasted like. I just remember it tasting like a thicker, like mellow yellow.
Probably a bit more carbonation.
Like greener. Like mellow yellow's yellow, but then make it greener.
Oh.
Mellow yellow is like a chartreuse, and Vault was more like the GAC from Nickelodeon.
Seems like Vault has a sour, slightly citrusy taste, Higgins.
Yeah.
For those who like a little sourness in their drinks. It's a great hydrating beverage that you can't get anymore.
Yeah. It's expired.
Yeah, that's my part.
You don't know what you got till it's gone.
And then you miss it every day.
I know. I didn't know I missed Vault until I saw it in this.
Till you needed it.
Till I saw it in this recipe, and I was like, gone but not forgotten.
That's tough, man. I'm sorry.
It's all right. No, I mean, let's end this on a higher note.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'll give it a rating, I guess.
Yeah, might as well.
I'm gonna give it 1 gravity boot. and an extra shoelace.
Oh,
So like a 5.5.
did they need shoelaces? I thought they were just kind of like the Back to the Future shoes where they kind of
Or
suction in.
a shoe strap or something.
Yeah, I did
Like an extra battery pack.
I do like. There's a couple panels where she's walking with those on for the first time. She just looks like a real
yeah,
goof. Yeah,
Like someone wearing like stilts for the first time or something like that.
it's just someone who clearly hasn't taken an actual step for the first time until just now.
How do people do this?
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, that adds up. Good stuff there. So you're giving it one boot. Okay, you're gonna let New Cat in. Yeah, he's being a menace. All right, New Cat, you got what you wanted, per usual. Kids today. See, Higgins, he wants to see the world, and you're just keeping him cooped up in here. You won't even let him touch that podcast microphone. So you're giving it one boot.
And like whatever amounts to half of a rating thing.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm giving it like a 5.5.
Love that. Love that.
I don't hate it. 5.5's passing.
Yeah.
It's
a
above.
D.
That's above average.
It's a D.
Yeah.
So I mean,
D's get degrees. As long as you don't get too many of them.
I mean, you're gonna have to take some summer school courses, but you know, other than that, you're doing all right. Just as good as me.
I think what I would describe this as, if anything, is a cheeseburger. Like everybody loves a cheeseburger, but you're not always going to think the cheeseburger is the fanciest thing you could be going for.
Yeah, and you're not,
Sometimes I want chicken Alfredo.
but they didn't have that at
They
Wendy's.
didn't have that.
I keep telling them to put it on the menu, and they just don't listen. One day, Higgins, one day you'll get it. You'll get what you deserve. Yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna have to be a little harsh on this one. Like I said, and I think that's mostly just because the idea is so good.
I think that was the worst rating I've ever given one for sure. Right?
I'm sure there's something you've hated just as much, if not worse. I don't know. We're usually pretty positive on here, but like I said, I think that this idea is so good, so it's a shame to kind of see it having the problems it has. So I'm gonna give this 2 G's.
2 G's,
Two
not
Gs.
even 5.
Not even 5. I'm afraid. Yeah, just 2 G's because it needs a little more. It needs something else going on. What are you gonna do? So
Yeah, it's fine.
that's fine. Well, they'll do better next time, maybe.
Probably. Banana nut. Readings for squares.
That's right, Higgins.
That's the segment where we talk about stuff that's not books, because we're not squares.
That's right. That's right. All of that's right.
Because when you're a square, you're not around.
That's funnier than that should be.
And we're recording later than normal.
We are. It's kind of throwing me off, honestly. Like normally we're done a couple hours before now, but we just got started a couple hours before now. But yes, we're doing that segment where we're going to talk about stuff that's not books because we're circles and not squares, like Higgins said. So you lead the charge per usual. What have you been looking into?
So I played games, and I don't normally play that many games. So I'm going to kind of give a little brief thing because I only did like 2 hours of one and like 6 to 7 hours of another one. So I started playing Doki Doki Literature Club the other day because I listened to a podcast where they reviewed it, even though this game came out in 2017. And then I also found out that it's free online on itch.io. You can download it for free onto your like MacBook. It runs on Mac OS or like Windows PC. You just have to type it in on the lines and it's right there. Don't get the plus version on like the Switch or stuff because it costs like $11 and apparently isn't even as good.
Probably has like an extra character or
everything online I read said like get it if you want more, but don't start with it.
And you said I've had just enough.
And I said I didn't want to spend any money, so I got the free one.
Okay.
They did ask me to donate something, but
who has the time?
sometimes I can't. It's Crimbus season.
Also, who are you donating to? Are you donating to people who made the
people
game?
that made it? Yeah.
Or the people who have the platform?
No, it's like their own it's their own site. It's like you get like a little fan pack if you donate $10 or something like that.
Oh.
Maybe some stickers or something. I don't remember.
Well, Higgins, you better hope
I didn't do that.
You better hope that there are no stickers involved because if there were and you didn't shell out some money to get me some, we might just have to end this podcast right here.
But
New Cat's at the door. Even though he has another door he can go through, he just wants to be able to do this. What an ass. Love you, New Cat. All right, so you've been playing Doki Doki for free.
Yeah, and
New Cat.
All right, now all of the doors are open.
So even New Cat should be happy for about 5 seconds.
But I've heard it's like a big twist.
Now Charlie's in the room. Pets are going crazy tonight.
I know, man.
They're not used to all this podcasting. Jesus. All right, I got 2 pets. Continue.
All right, but yeah, there's a big twist. Apparently, it gets real messed up by the end of it. I played like 2 hours, and by played I mean I read and clicked a button like maybe 20 times. I picked words for a poem that I didn't even see. I've read some poems. I'm in a literature club. I'm a guy. I'm in like a Japanese school. They're all 18, so you don't feel bad about thinking they're cute or whatever. That's what they said. They're like, all of these people are 18.
As I said on the back of the box, you don't have to feel bad.
Before you think that this probably high school age girl is cute, they're all 18. Because it's a dating sim, is what some of the game is. Mostly it's just a visual novel.
Yes.
He joins a club he's reluctant to, but then his like longtime best friend talked him into it. And then there happened to be like 3 other very cute girls, and he was like, I gotta talk to these girls because they're cute. And that's a reason to stay in this club.
Yeah.
And so it's a literature club. They're reading books, they're writing poems, they're sharing them with each other. There's a couple of cat fights that have happened a little bit.
Ooh, spicy.
One of the girls is kind of shy and like dark and writes pretty good. The other one's kind of got pink hair. She's a little spunky. And then I've been kind of flirting with the shy girl that can write good stuff. I knew I was doing a dating sim, so I just picked one of them, and that's where I put all my focus. The other ones aren't getting any of it.
Oh, wow, Higgins. That might or might not cause some issues later down the road. I honestly don't know.
My friend, though, I have been tossing her a bone every now and again, so she's second on the totem pole. I don't know if I can go for more than one, but I don't want to leave that option off the table.
I mean, Higgins, you feel what you feel, and you need to express that.
But so far, nothing crazy has happened. Steve and me have been talking about it. We're not sure that the twist might not be that there's not a twist, and we just got you to play a 4-hour-long dating sim.
So I've never played it. There is a twist, and that's the only reason I heard about the game, because it's like
I heard it's pretty messed up. There was a pretty big content warning like at the top of the game.
Yeah.
But I also started playing this game called Sea of Stars on Game Pass.
Okay.
It's a little like pixely 32-bit like RPG, like JRPG actually.
You love those games and all their bits. Yeah.
They you start out with like you pick one of 2 characters, you play with both of them in like the same party, so it doesn't matter which one you pick. I picked the guy with the fast swords. He's a sword dancer. The other girl's like the witch flipping rolls on the top of their head. The girl's the strong one, and she hits stuff with a big staff. Fighting's pretty cool. It's like normal turn-based RPG, but they add a little bit of extra, like you hit a button to like block, like you wait for like a timing thing when a person hits, and if you hit the button when they hit you, then it like does reduce damage.
Ooh.
And like when if you hit the button like at the same time, it hits them for like a critical hit or something like that.
See, okay, yeah.
So it adds a little bit more than just clicking a button that says here's this move and then they do that move.
Yeah, got to get the
which
timing
makes it
down.
Kind of cool.
Okay.
And then they got other little puzzles and stuff like that, and it's a JRPG, so there's also a lot of talking. The first like 3 or 4 hours, you're kind of doing like the tutorial-y type stuff, and I just got to like the first world. And so far, it's been like so hard. I'm pretty bad at games, so I'm playing on normal, and like I died 3 or 4 times against some of like the regular world like people.
Okay.
But other than that, it's got like a cool cooking system. One of the guys, I didn't even talk about him. He's like I can't even remember what they call him, like a cook warrior or something like that. He's the cook of the group. He was like your friend that didn't get like the special like JRPG. You 2 are the chosen one. He's just your friend.
He's just a guy who loves a mean rice ball.
He was just your friend when you were a kid, and then you went off for like 7 years and trained until you hit just that right amount of JRPG magic to like go on the big adventure.
Yeah.
And then after you guys did that, he somehow found you again, and he helps you like cook recipes, and also he's kind of strong too. He hits people with like pot lids and stuff like that.
He's just a guy you can vibe with. Yeah, I get it. I like that. I like the sound of that alone. Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty fun. I like it.
You think you're gonna?
I'll continue playing it.
Well, I was gonna ask you, think you'll like kind of see this one through, or you think this one you'll just kind of like get what you want and then move on?
I haven't seen how long it is, but I don't think it's like your typical like JRPG like length. I think it's like
20 hours or
yeah,
whatever.
I think it's closer to like the 30-40 mark, so like I could potentially
maybe
knock that out.
Yeah. Okay.
It just depends on if I have time. It's fun.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't get too hard, that's usually what makes me stop games. if I can't like beat something after like 10 to 20 tries, then I'll usually just give up and say I'm just gonna start the next 5 to 6 hours of a game.
Yeah, I get that's typically kind of like,
Which probably means I should just start bumping things down to easy mode and at least get in the story. But
that's kind of how my brother plays games.
Yeah.
I always ask him like, I was like, what are you playing on? And he's like, I always play easy. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, is that not too easy? He's like, it's really easy, but he just wants to do the story.
Yeah.
That's how he like,
it's like the fighting's still gonna be fun.
Yeah. I'm somewhere kind of in the middle of, I'll kind of go from like I'll start with a hard, and then if it's too hard where it's like I can't get any farther unless I just like try the same fight for the next like 10 hours or whatever, I'll kick it down to normal.
That's the other thing about this game. It's got a good bit of like, on top of like finding like swords and stuff out in the environment, some of the chests basically have like accessibility options. Like there's this one that you get like basically right at the beginning of the game that like makes it easier to see the timing for like the hits and blocks.
Yeah.
It like flashes something on the screen rather than you having to like just kind of figure it out based off the animation.
Okay.
So like it makes it easier for you if you decide to turn that on.
Oh.
It just leaves a little switch in your like inventory that you can turn on these random things that might make it easier for you.
I like that accessibility stuff. They're kind of doing that in all,
They do in a lot of stuff
games now. Yeah. And I like that they're kind of do it the opposite way where it's like, do you want this to be harder? Big thing for Spider-Man, the one that just came out that everyone was really excited about. I wasn't, and I didn't turn it on, but you can turn on fall damage, or there's another setting that you can tweak, which is like realistic web swinging. So I think by default in that game, it's set to like just to make you move really smooth and really fast through that city. And I love traversing in that new one. I think it's just so well made where anyone can kind of pick this up and after about 20 minutes get the hang of getting from one point of the city to the next in as little time as possible. But also there's people who are just like, no, if I hit a building, I want to smash into it and fall down. So I like that that's an option. And same thing with this, where it's like, if you want this to be a little bit easier so you can experience this game, because I think for a lot of people with gaming, so many people would play games if one, they had the time, which, situation depends, but also it's like,
you get blocked out of it based on how hard it is.
Yeah. And I think having the ability to kind of tweak that to your liking and making it where it's like, I really like the story, but I would like the gameplay to be easier so I can get more of the story in a reasonable amount of time. I think it's a good idea. And
it was like kind of like a Souls-like game that just came out. I played the first 10 minutes of Lies of P, which is the Pinocchio Dark Souls game.
Oh, okay. I have no idea what this is, but awesome.
It was also on Game Pass, and it was too hard. I died like 15 times against the tutorial boss, and I was like, if I can't beat the tutorial boss, then there's not any point for me to like keep going.
What am I doing? Yeah.
It's only gonna get harder from here.
Yeah, and I also respect people who just like make games that don't do anything like that. Like Steve, friend of the show, I think he's playing Bloodborne right now. He loves those games, and he's really good at those games because he takes the time to learn how to do them, and he's really good at them for that reason.
Yeah, but I try to talk him into playing this one.
Yeah. And I also talked to him about I don't know how I feel about the fact that those Souls games don't have a difficulty setting, because I think a lot of people would really get into those even more so if they could just get over the gameplay. That's also a big part of those franchises is you kind of you get better at this. You get to a point where you can get further, and there is a reward to that. And so I think it can go either way. I do like having those options to kind of tweak that stuff, but also to not do it at all. I think that's that's an artistic call in a lot of ways, and I respect it. So that's cool. So all these things that you've been playing, they're on Game Pass, I assume.
The second one was on Game Pass, and then the Doki Doki was online for free. Like I mentioned earlier, you can find it. Anybody can go play it if they want to right now.
Okay. What made you want to get into this?
Honestly, I listened to a couple of video game podcasts because at the very least, even if I don't play them, I like to hear people talk about them. Okay. And I used to watch you play video games all the time. I get just as much enjoyment out of like seeing someone do it or talk about it as I do even just playing it.
Yeah. But I guess my question is like, why? Because that's not a kind of game that you play, or really any of the visual novel stuff? Like, what made you? Is it just because you heard about the twist and you're kind of like, I want to experience
I just
this?
wanted to know the twist, and they told me it was 4 hours, and I was like, even I can finish a 4-hour game.
I see. Okay. I was curious about the Doki Doki thing because when you told me you were playing, I was like, I only know of that game because I listened to podcasts and they did spoil the twist, and I think that you'll be pretty surprised with kind of what they're doing. I don't remember exactly if it's this one, but I think even just like the gameplay mechanics they kind of throw in there is an interesting and fun idea. I think it kind of can mess with things like your file structure. So you have to like go in and like move some files from one folder to the next to get the game to boot back up properly again. It might be that one, it might not be, but they do some weird stuff like that and kind of get real meta with it. And also just kind of tackle the idea of what is this thing that, like, what is the story? Because that whole light novel dating sim thing, it's been done to death. And it's a weird concept. Like, just like, hey, here's these 5 like romantic interests, and like, just, you know, make them all swoon over you and then pick one and send all the rest packing. Yeah. It's a weird idea. And I think that's kind of what made this game blow up to the extent that it has in recent years, is just, it tackles that in a very dark way. Yeah. So I'm excited for you to get to that twist, because when I heard it, I was like, dang, okay.
Yeah, I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back up on the next go.
Excellent. Yeah. Good stuff.
I should have it done by then.
You better, or else nothing really
I might
changes.
bring it up.
Yeah.
I might bring it up in this section. I might bring it up in a formerly done section called Higgins' House.
You could bring it up on a phone call, you know?
Yeah.
Because we can just talk to each other. We don't have to do it for content.
Yeah, but we should.
Yeah, we should though, shouldn't we? Yeah.
I don't have anything else. I'll do some of the other stuff. It's Christmas time again.
That's right.
And we tried to do a Christmas book last time, and it ended up not being a Christmas book. There was snow though. Friday.
Oh, it took place during Christmas.
Yeah,
though.
Christmas-ish time.
Yeah.
I got there.
That counts.
But we got a couple emails from random people asking us to do stuff. We're not going to do that right now. We're giving you what you all came back for.
What you deserve.
The only thing that you guys care about in this podcast, and it's the final 2 issues of the Klaus saga that we read.
That's right. Yeah, we got at least one more volume or something to
I don't
read.
remember. There's two issues, and I don't remember what this one's called, but I think they come in their own fancy little book.
Ooh.
And you might have it already in your big fancy book that you got. I'm not really sure.
Not that one, no, but I know of it, yes.
I'm going to try to find it real quick while we do this. And I think I saw on like Wikipedia last time what it was called. It's got some long title. Okay, so it's going to have The Crying Snowman and the Life and Times of Joe Christmas.
It's Claus, The Life and Times of Santa Claus 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because we did the New Adventures of Santa Claus 2 last time. So this is the 3rd one we're on.
Yeah, and it's going to have those 2 that I mentioned. So
Yeah.
The Crying Snowman and Joe Christmas.
Yes, it is.
And it's going to wrap up that world until they come up with more. Hopefully there's more, because those have all been good.
They've been pretty
and
solid.
fun.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll finish that out if it is the last one, or until they do a different one.
And then we'll have to come up with more Christmas-based podcasting comic stuff.
Yeah.
Which we can do.
I
Or
think
not. I mean, we could do a Kwanzaa-based one or a Hanukkah-based one.
There's more Friday stuff we
8
could do.
Crazy Nights.
Yeah, I think there's more Friday stuff that
There's
takes place
another
during
volume.
Christmas, so we can
Yeah.
do that if anything. Yeah, we'll have to get Bethany in on that one though, because she demanded it.
She did demand it.
Yeah, and I'm too scared to tell her no.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
I'm definitely not going to tell her no.
you definitely shouldn't.
Yeah.
New cat?
He can.
Yeah,
He's the only one that's allowed to say no.
that's right, because you can't
In
say no
this
to New
household.
cat. Yeah, you bitch. Excuse me, you new bitch.
But
So we'll do that. We'll do that Santa Claus book, and that'll be the last pot of the year.
yeah, the last pot of the year.
And
then we'll be slowly closing in on year 4.
Mm-hmm.
Year 4?
Yeah,
In
that's right.
February, right?
Yeah, and we're
Sorry.
going
February will be 4 years.
something like that. Yeah,
That's pretty good.
Yeah, maybe we pack up after that. We don't know. Maybe we keep going. It's tough to say.
It can only go up or down from here.
That's right. But before we go anywhere, we should also take the time. We talked about the book we're going to do next time. That's important. But let's also take some time to talk about important things like reviews and or emails that we got.
Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do the review.
All right. I wish I had a song for that. Maybe I'll workshop some of that. We've got segments, and people are actually reviewing and or emailing us now. So I almost feel like our audience deserves more songs sang by me every single time. not plugged into the computer like you would think we did.
Well, I mean,
it's right off the dome.
Deserve it or not, it's your right and your choice to give it to him if you want, Higgins.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Whatever you want is what you should do, yeah.
They can stop listening anytime they want. I'm going to talk into this microphone regardless.
That's right. No one can stop him.
I'll start with the emails. That one feels like it fits more, and then we'll hit the reviews on the way out while we're closing stuff up.
Absolutely.
We got a real brother war in our email box
Loving it
now.
Yeah, honestly, big fan of this. Whatever this has turned into, and for why I don't know, but I do enjoy it. So,
all
yes.
right. Second time emailer.
Long time caller.
Yeah. Good friend. Also, congratulations to him and his new wife. They got married within the past month. I can't tell you the exact day.
Okay, great.
But yeah, congratulations, guys.
Yeah, congratulations.
Right on the podcast, Zachary and Claire.
Oh, Zachary and Claire Miller. Yeah.
Nix Miller.
Okay.
I got the hyphenated.
Well, excellent.
And everything.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that. Congrats to you both.
But more importantly, an email from Zach.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys and gals, wonderful podcast as always. I enjoyed listening to The Lady Killer and thought that it sounds like a comic that's right down my alley. Of course, the elephant in the room, my brother Ethan and our now podcast Proxy War. Instead of getting you to get your sponsor to say ridiculous things on a show, I'll use my weight to influence the podcast into reading a comic book, thus making Ethan jealous and cinching my lead as the older and better brother.
Okay.
Which, first time we've ever gotten a request to read something, so that's kind of nice.
We've been asking for years. And
we'll probably do that.
On it.
Probably do that on the January episode unless we have other things planned for that.
I think we can do that. Yeah, let's do that.
And we could even probably get Michael on this one because it's right up his alley.
He does love a Star Wars, yeah.
I humbly ask that you all read the Star Wars, a concept I heard about many years ago but had not gotten into. It's a what-if comic that explores George Lucas's first rough draft of the series. Please help me seem cooler to my younger brother. That's crossed out, that part. So I don't know if he wanted me to read that out loud, but I just did. And he said, help me win this feud after the crossed out part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he didn't want you to read it, he wouldn't have put it in there in the first place. So
he said our episode deserved a rating, of course. And so he said his breakdown was 5 sword emojis for silliness and entertainment. But we lose 1 squirt gun because you mentioned my younger brother. And then he said, P.S. eat my shorts. I don't know if that's to Ethan or us.
I don't either, actually. That's a good point. I'm just gonna assume it's to the brother. They're the one having a bit of a feud on here, which again, love. Keep that going if you want, but also if you don't, that's fine too.
We'll keep reading them for as long as we can.
We'll honestly read anything that anyone sends us, and if we don't want to read it, we'll just get someone else to do it, like we did that last time. Yeah. No, I think it's a great idea. Reading that Star Wars book, I want to get into that. I've known about that, and I've never even thought about it. But yes, there was I think it was kind of the raw original like script ideas and concepts that eventually got changed into what is A New Hope. But George Lucas is a man with many ideas, some really good and some that are just like, okay, you did this thing. Yeah. So I think it's going to go more into that realm. And if so, I'm really excited to check that out. So we'll plan to do that for the first episode of the new year, unless we just forget, but we'll try not to. So thank you, Zach, for that email.
That'll be in there.
Yeah. Give us some clarification if you want, as far as like whose shorts we're supposed to eat or who's eating whose. What kind of shorts are they? You know, that's important.
Are they flavored? Because we might like them.
I've heard they're not that good flavored though.
Oh yeah.
I feel like you want more of a natural flavor. You know, just get some of that like that cotton or that silk.
Oh
even.
Yeah.
Silk would be a bit too chewy for me personally, but like put some hot sauce on it, I could probably get through. Yeah. Good stuff. So good stuff.
Oh man, I read the email. I should have let you read the email because I'm also about to read a review given to me by my brother that now sometimes listen to the podcast because we said mean things to him, not listening to the podcast on one of the older ones.
So now he's feeling the pressure of like, are they still saying mean things? I guess.
Yeah, I guess I better listen. And then turns out he liked it.
Oh, good.
A little bit. And I'll find it. He sent it to a text message. We'll get him to put it on like an actual site so all of you can see how he really feels. But because I could be completely lying to you. But he gave us 4 solid newborn seahorses for the most recent podcast. So that would have been the one before. I think that would have been the Lady Killer episode also.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Because he hadn't listened to the deer one, Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth one, yeah.
We hadn't put that one out yet.
I see. Yes, yeah. Well,
it said it got him through the workday. He was working a grocery store job. He's not doing that grocery store job anymore, but he needed that extra boost in his ear to get him through that day.
And if we can do that, I'm more than happy about it.
And they say he was kind of
yeah.
jumping around, just picking and choosing what he wants, which more and more people can do that if you want to. You don't got to listen to them all. Not everybody's like us and can enjoy everything we read.
Yeah, in a way, I wish we didn't have to listen to them all, but we do.
I do every single time.
Every single time, every single day. But I'm glad that he liked it. Yeah, if you want, though, maybe review that show officially. I'm not saying that it helps, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
And I mean, I can tell them where they can do that. Go ahead and segue into our little our little sweeping up section.
Higgins, I like that. I love that.
They can
give me some more of it.
They can rate and review on Apple Podcasts. That's where you can do the straight up review with the words and everything. You can rate it on any podcatcher of your choice. Even Spotify has the star system now a little bit, but we're on everything except Stitcher now, I think, because Stitcher doesn't exist.
And that's not on us. We tried.
Yeah.
We gave them sweet content, and they just couldn't make anything out of it.
I don't know if we're on Audible Podcasts or not, but I hope we are.
Is that if that's a thing? I'm sure we're maybe on that at some point. Yes, yeah. It's the podcast machine just feeds itself after a while.
Yeah, and they just keep going out to all of these guys. I know I've heard of so many different ones, and I'm like, I agree. Let's give less companies more business. Or the other way around, more companies, less business.
That's my MO either way.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. Yes, absolutely. Yes, so you could, if you wanted to, you could rate on those things. There's probably a link down there in the episode description you can click on right now. It'll take you straight to a rating thing. You can leave us a review, a written review like other people have done in the past. Or just
send us more emails.
You can send us more email. We love that.
You can do that. You can suggest a book like Zach did. You can start your own feud. And you can do that at Oh, no, wait, sorry. You can do that at the Comixology Club at 0-0-8studios.com.
That's right, yeah.
I got it right at the beginning of the podcast, so at least I got one clean take.
Yeah, they're both in there, yeah. Good stuff. And just to play off of that, I would love that. If there are more siblings out there that listen to this that want to get into a weird email feud that we read out month to month, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can just make the show about that. If you just want to air just some grievances about your sibling, or just tell them, have some stranger on the internet say that you're the better sibling.
I feel like that's like half of the podcasts out there anyways. It's just people reading stuff about people arguing on the internet.
It's just a community that we're happy to build.
The world needs more violence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Higgins could pick a sibling that he likes more, and I'll pick the other sibling. And then we'll fight
for them.
Yeah, we'll fight to defend the other one and explain why that one's better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like if we can next year, let's work on that, everyone. But if not, you can also just keep listening to the show as we talk about more comics. People seem to enjoy that for the most part, and we enjoy that they enjoy it, don't we?
Yeah, and you can talk to us just directly at me on X, I guess.
Yeah.
Twitter, Mike Higgins 93, or Instagram at jsturm93.
Yeah.
And you can find Snoop at Snoop_Lynch, or just the email. I don't know if you're on Instagram right now.
No, I dip a toe in there every now and again if I need to.
It's got good stuff on it every now and again.
I'll check right now. No, I won't. New Cat's on my phone. I'll check later.
I didn't get anything, so I hope you didn't like get my goat and steal all the Instagram fun.
Maybe, but also probably not, because I don't get on there a lot. But I will if you give me a shout out, or you tag my handle, what's the term? I don't know, but if you do that, I'll see it.
That's the handle. You got it.
Okay, good. I know social media.
Yeah.
And I also know it's time to end the show for another month, and then we'll close out the year next time. So thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to everyone who reviews. Thank you for just being yourself. And I will say cheers, guys. That's what I say. And then give Higgins the floor.
And I'll see you guys. I'm floating away. Did you catch that on the mic?
It would have sounded better if you had a Vault Zero in your hand.